The Offaly team take to the field for their quarter-final match at Croke Park, their second game. The first game that we saw, of course, between Wexford and Antrim, I think very much a bonus game in the sense of the quality of that game. We enjoyed a really good game of hurling, but I suppose for many people this is the one that they're looking forward to. The clash of Tipperary taking the field now also, and Offaly in this second quarter-final match. Who will be going forward to the semi-finals? Well, that's the big question that we want to see answered out of this one. Still in studio with me here we have Cyril Farrell and Ger Loughnane. I suppose a very simple kind of issue in this one, Cyril. It's whoever plays best on the day, really.
Yeah, like going back to last year, Michael, I suppose the Tipperary-Kilkenny game would probably be the best hurling game of the year, and Tip will feel that they let Kilkenny off the hook. Now, they got a downer against Clare, got a wide, an introduction to championship hurling that they weren't expecting, Michael Dial, but they learned from it, and now they're back here again, and they will fancy their chance against Offaly. But it's only about Offaly. Winning or losing by 10 or 20 points, they'll play the same kind of a rhythm the whole time. Very, very hard to beat and very, very economical. And talking to some of them, they really believe that they, that they can pull one over in Tipperary.
The issue going into the Limerick match with the Wheelahans and all that, everybody thought kind of that this was an upsetting thing in the week of the match, and it was in fact the opposite happened on the night.
Sure, Offaly used to rows like that. Whenever you hear of a row in Offaly, you know they're going to play well right after it, So it's grist to the mill there for Offaly to have a good row in the middle of the year, and then they usually go on and win the All-Ireland afterwards. So exactly. In another county it causes confusion, but in Offaly it's part and parcel of what they are. I can't understand, Michael, how Tip are such favourites for this game today. If you look at their record this year, they were trounced by Clare in the first round, beat Laois all right in the next round. Now against Galway, they beat Galway all right, but Galway gave up the game after 20 minutes. No passion, no intensity in their game whatsoever, and still at the end of that, they were hanging on for victory. So I don't think the Tip are as good as they were last year. They look fragile to me. They have a lot of very, very good hurlers. Their defence are all good hurlers, but aren't they good defenders? Is Tommy Dunn really a good defender when pressure is coming on today by Gary Hannifey or somebody like that? Yeah. Tip have a lot of questions to answer. This is a great chance for Offaly to put one over on them today. I think Offaly have a mighty chance going into this. Now, Owen Kelly won't be as bad as he was the last day. That's one thing. John Call, when he came on, made a huge difference for Tipperary. He made a massive difference. I prefer to see him playing at centre forward on Brian Wheelhan rather than on the wing, and maybe that's where he will play. Where his busting style is more suited going through the centre. But he's a vital man for Tipperary. When he wasn't playing last Sunday, they realised in how much he was missed. This is a wide open game, but it'll be interesting to see. The last game was so exciting. It'll be interesting to see will this game now fall a bit flat, because that often happens. So it's a day for either team to grind out a result here and get to the semi-final. Both teams coming into the game, Tip favourites, but there's going to be nothing in this game either. Offaly love Croke Park. They have a great combination of youth and experience. Look down the centre of that team: Ger Oakley, Brian Wheelhan, Barry Wheelhan, Gary Hannifey and Joe Rutty. They're not young lads. They're very experienced. And then they have the young lads like Rory Hannifey, Brendan Murphy, Brian Carroll on the wings, lethal players who can pick off scores. If Offaly play as well for the full game as they played in the first half against Wexford in the Leinster semi-final, then Offaly will win this game. But that's the big game.
Cyril, final word from you.
I think Tip will win it. I like their half-back by midfield, Corcoran, Dunn, Kelly, and two boys midfield, Vinny Dunn, Eddie Wright. They're beautiful hurlers. Question mark over the mentality of the Tip set up at the moment. They're physically good enough. Mentally, if they're strong enough, they'll win this.
Sure. Okay, thank you, gentlemen. Well, I suppose the panel's views really says it all. Kind of ifs and buts and doubts, I suppose, with both teams, maybe more with Tip. Will Offaly play as well as they did the last day? Can Tip move forward again after a dreadful start to the championship? That's the big issue in this second quarter-final. Our commentator is Ger Canning.
Yes, lots and lots of questions, as you say, Michael, and we'll hope to have a resolution to all of that by about 5:30. Interesting there what Ger Loughnane was saying, and he's absolutely right, of course, that so often after a really thrilling, exciting first match, the second game tends to be rather flat. We've seen it time and again. But one thing I have noted, that both teams didn't take any real interest whatsoever in the first game. They didn't arrive in the ground until about 3:25. And in fact, some people were wondering, had they in fact got the time of the game wrong? So that's one particular consideration. Brian Wheelahane there, back in the fold, as we take a check on the teams for this afternoon's second quarter-final. Offaly, as in the last round, left a vacancy in the middle of their team, and the gap is filled by the inclusion of Conor Gath, who played against Limerick in Semple Stadium. Once again, the numbers are the same, but it could be that on this occasion, David Franks won't be called on to switch with Niall Claffey. As of right now, Franks is listed to mark Tip's Owen Kelly, while Brian Wheelahane today plays in his 45th championship match. It's expected that Michael Cordial will line up in midfield alongside Barry Wheelahane, with Conor Gath coming in at wing forward. And on the team provided, Rory Hannafy and Brendan Murphy have been assigned new roles, with Murphy switching into the left corner. But of course, all of that could alter. Mike Mack, they call him, of course, the man in his first season in charge of Offaly's fortunes. Well, as for Tip, as they go into their huddle, just one change of real note for them in this game, and that of course is with the recall from the outset of John Carroll as a replacement for Dennis Byrne. Carroll made a big second half impression when he came on against Galway. Tom Costello, substituted at half-time 2 weeks ago, is back in the fray at left cornerback. Well, in fact, he switched across to right cornerback. Tommy Dunn continues in his new role of centre half, while his younger brother Benny remains in the boiler house at midfield alongside Eddie Enright. And in attack, it's very much as expected, with power and pace at the half line, and a switch for captain Brian O'Mara into the corner. You'll gather from the national flag and the other flags around, very little breeze to note here this afternoon. Perfect conditions. Well, this time last Sunday afternoon, Ger Harrington from Carrigaline in Cork was refereeing in a place called Buin in the Cork County Championship. And today it's the quarter-final of the Guinness Championship here at Croke Park, Tipperary against Offaly. And Michael Dignan's here alongside me. Michael, your expectations here?
Well, I think it's going to be a cracker. I wouldn't agree with the lads in the studio. I think the first 20 minutes here we're going to see a lot of passion. I see Brian O'Mara at centre forward, Conor Gleeson at full forward, and Lara Corbett in the corner straight away for Tipperary. I think that was expected.
No great surprises there. So it's going to be Tipperary who will play from left to right into the first attack, and it's Brian O'Mara, their captain, opening up big spaces. Got support outside, and Lara Corbett was expected to take it in his path, didn't do so, and the ball has been fouled. It's going to be a free out for Offaly. Van Wheelahan there, and Lara Corbett, about whom much will be expected, in a top of the left. There's Martin Maher there. The man he's marking is Brian Carroll from Coolderry. Goalkeeper Brian Mullins in his first full championship season. Huge one way down towards Joe Erity. Gary Hannafy's there as well, coming thundering out as Tom Costello recovered from injury. So I'm interested to see what kind of tactic Offaly applied this afternoon. Their half-back line will be hoping, that's the Tip half-back line, will be hoping to provide a buffer for their inside defensive zone so as not to be overexposed as Brendan Murphy hits that first ball well to the right. Very clever player, Brendan Murphy. Is switched with Rory Hannafy, incidentally. Hannafy is now in a top of the left. And his marking is Tom Costello from Capel-White. That comes flying out here. Now Claffey fouled, so it's going to be a free down for Offaly. Just the second ever championship match between these counties. Of course, they met in Portlaoise in the qualifiers last year, and Tip had a resounding victory by 13 points. Could be different this afternoon. Offaly certainly hoping so. Wheelahan from Burr, 4 times All-Ireland club champions. It's a huge one in. Again targeting Rory Hannafy, another Burr man. Very strong Burr contingent. That's Brendan Cummins coming from the goal. Here's Benny Dunn. Very sharp hurler in midfield. Good ball in, again to test the goalkeeper. Brian Mullins trying to stay as calm as possible, in a bit of a dither there, needing Niall Claffey to come and help him. Corbett's about. Here's Claffey, settling down better in this match than he did against Donegal Sheehan in Perlis just 10 days ago. And the referee this time sees a bit of fouling on the part of Joe Erity, as Offaly, who are looking as part of the Leinster contingent in the championship for a third victory against a Munster team, as it were. Offaly themselves having beaten Limerick, and of course Wexford having beaten Waterford. 3 in a row would say something for the big debate as to where the greater power lies in hurling. Right now the powerful Lar Corbett's coming through, loses it. Back once again to Niall Claffey. That's such a great ball out. That's Michael Cordial wearing the dark hair this evening as opposed to the blonde we've seen in the championship thus far. That was Gary Hannafy, the captain, straight in as far as Brendan Cummins. Lacklustre start to the match. Tommy Dunn opening it up into the corner here towards Brian O'Mara. Locked down. Game yet to take shape. That's Ger Oakley from Carrick and Riverstown, right on the Offaly Tipperary border. Here comes Brendan Murphy, and that's over the bar. The man from Ballyshannock. Another place very close indeed to Rosscray. So great rivalry between a lot of the players here as Offaly take the front, hit the lead with just under 4 minutes gone. Picked up a good loose ball here, got it on his right side, looked confident and very composed. And it's going to be a free in. Owen Kelly, the player who was fouled. Only scored 2 points, of course, in Salt Hill 2 weeks ago against Galway, and both of those coming from frees. So a chance for him now to bounce right back to his very best form. Playing in his 15th championship match, and a man who's got 2 goals and 17 points in the 3 championship matches played so far. He's gone for a goal. Saved by Mullins on the line. Coming out. Indecision. Corbett beaten for a great stop by Niall Claffey. Wonderful wrist work. Well, the wrists are really working that time. And in fact, it was Conor Gath we saw a shot of there just moments ago, but Niall Claffey, the one who made the intervention. Cut in by Paul Kelly towards his brother Owen. Fumbling initially, trying to take it away there from David Franks. Franks sticking to him very tightly. Strong corner play, still forcefully forward there, but John Carroll involved. And it's going to be Tipperary's possession.
I think that was a good chance by Owen Kelly to settle himself after being taken off against Galway. An easy free, and went for the goal.
Here's Benny Dunn, and who scored that all-important goal in Salt Hill. And the umpires have a right good look at it and decide it's bang on target. Benny Dunn's first of the day. So a point apiece. And he's having a very fine season indeed, the Tipperary number 8 here. Good score. This should be some clash here involving Gary Hannafy, who wins that ball against Tommy Dunn. If he can have the measure of Tommy Dunn there, you feel he could set something up inside as a provider. Tip trying to break again. Offaly countering. Nice play here. Brendan Murphy, tricky character, nicely inside. Fed forward there by Gaff. Inside to Hannafy. Stopped. Still Rory Hannafy. And again, denied space and possession. Joe Erity would have bemused look on his face, wondering how that stayed out, but it was Rory Hannafy from Burr coming in on the end line here. Eamon Corcoran unable to prevent him, and it was stopped by the goalkeeper. Brendan Cummins came flying back out again into space, nobody able to get a final touch on it.
Brendan Murphy and Rory Hannafy seem to be causing a lot of problems down the left side here so far, and they seem to have the legs on Eamon Corcoran and Tom Costello.
I was talking with Pat Delaney before the match, one of the selectors for Offaly, talking about whether or not they were going to match Tipperary's intentions in terms of where they placed their players, and he says the game takes shape after about 10 minutes. That's taken shape all right, but it's gone wide. Disappointment then for Lar Corbett from Perlis Sarsfield. I think Pat Delaney's point essentially was we wait to see who are the players who are really playing well on the day, and after 10 minutes we'll know which of our guys to move. And there's Michael Doyle down there with his fellow selectors. Liam Sheehy and Kevin Fox. Good play there by Ger Oakley, batting it away out towards Joe Brady. Strong man at right half back. Michael Cordial whipping on it down into space. Gath going after it. Paul Kelly there as well. Neat tick up by Kelly. Beyond Brian Whelan, runs on to Lar Corbett. 45 metres out into space towards Brian O'Mara. Has players over. Goes for it himself and he's put it wide. Well, he had John Carroll not too far away from Mark O'Leary. Well, he's been with Clare and he's been with Galway, and now he is the Offaly manager, a man from Scariff, Mike McNamara. Again, indecision at centre half back by Tipperary's Tommy Dunn. Could have been problems, but this time the ball by Conor Gath unable to reach Brian Carroll. Brian Carroll, who looked very annoyed with himself in the early stages of the match against Limerick when he had a really decent goal chance and he put it over instead. Paul Kelly towards Benny Dunn, contesting there with Barry Whelan. Runs back again here. That is Eddie Enright. Huge one forward towards Owen Kelly. Spills along on the grass here. Franks is after it as well. Kelly turning, looking for options. Trying to go through himself. Tricky character in the end. As you saw, he just held the ball and caught it 3 times. So for that foul of the ball, it's going to be a free out for Offaly, taking a little bit of the pressure off him. But there was a little bit of indecision on the part of Owen Kelly. Not quite sure whether he should link up with the others in support. Tried to bat it ahead to Conor Gleeson, but then caught it for the 3rd time.
David Franks is building up a huge reputation as a very tight marking cornerback, and he's very, very fast, hard to get away from.
I've seen some very good cornerback play this year. Thinking of another player 2 weeks ago, Ollie Canning, who did really well against Owen Kelly. Tip standing firm there at half back, well away by Martin Maher. That's Brian Whelan belting it back in here. Colin Cassidy had a great game in Thurles, and that's a great point. Great score. Offaly lead. Back in front once again, the faithful county. Brendan Cummins hitting it down towards Colin Cassidy's wing. Brian Whelan coming across, covering, and he's gone down injured, and he may have got a belt to the chin. Certainly feeling his face there, Brian Whelan. Vastly experienced player. It's the chin or the neck. Watch it again here. Yes, he collided with a flying elbow. And the player involved was Benny Dunn, number 8. Ger Harrington going down to have a word with Benny Dunn, pointing out the nature of the challenge, a bit too high, and I think there might have been a number taken, a ticking for Benny Dunn. Thankfully Brian Whelan will be okay, able to play on. This is it again in reprise. The elbow catching him in the neck.
Yeah, I think Benny Dunn is lucky to get away with our yellow card there. You know, it was a very high challenge, and Brian playing in his 45th championship match, a tackle like that won't do him any good early in the game.
This will be 32 on Friday next, Brian Whelan. It's again the way in which various referees just interpret the same kind of incident. Some will give a ticking, some will give a yellow card, and that's what infuriates players, I think. Well, one in the air that time. Paul Kelly getting it out. Back down into that Offaly defence once again. Quick off the mark here. Turning neatly as Conor Gleeson switched inside. Owen Kelly nicely blocked, won by Ger Oakley. Oakley covering a lot of ground, comes out to Brian O'Mara, looking to put the teams on terms here, but he can't. He's put it wide, and that's Tipperary's 3rd wide of the match. Brian O'Mara, who always plays with a great deal of fire. As we watch this again here, the block down there involving Ger Oakley. Gary Hannafy getting it in. Comes right back out to Michael Cordial. Quick change of direction. Getting away from Eddie Enright. Would have been a lovely point. It is a lovely point. It was the little switch of the body that time by Michael Cordial. feigning to go right, then turning in left and making it 3 points to 1. See, he took Eddie Enright completely out of it. Great score. Brian Whelan calling for it, but Cordial was going for the same ball. Then nonetheless it reaches Gary Hannafy. Opening out the broad shoulders, going for it himself, and this time the umpire said to the right. That just about came off the post, but still one of the wides registered against Offaly. Just a second. Brian O'Mara has come out onto the 40 against Brian Whelan. The switch there with Conor Gleeson. Owen Kelly showing some trickery. Ger Oakley trying to win the race here against the physically intimidating Conor Gleeson, and it's going to be a line ball to Offaly. He can protest all he wants. The linesman's made his mind up. Here it is again. Almost stuck in the mud that time, and it may just have gone off Gleeson's boot. Here comes David Franks, man of the match in that last qualifier. Thought about linking up with his goalkeeper, who was making himself available for a quick one. They delay. Well, that was a real option. They could have given it to the goalkeeper that time, and he could have started up another Offaly attack and produced possibly another score. They lead by 2. It'll be Eamon Corcoran from the J.K. Brackens club to cut this one up. It's a great cut. Way up towards Gleeson, runs on beyond him, right on the end line, gathers pace on the turf, and finally goes wide. Still very tentative.
Yeah, Tipperary have had an awful lot of possession, and they look to have a load of room to play in up front, but Offaly are closing them down very, very quickly. And Offaly's one tactic so far is a high ball down the middle to Gary Hannafy. Now, he's won some good ball, but you know, they have to vary their game a bit more than that.
Trying to get their 2 wing forwards into it a bit more. Here's one of them here, Brendan Murphy, wearing 15. The other is Barry Whelan there, the midfielder in picture, but the 2 wing forwards I was mentioning there, of course, they are Conor Gath and also Brendan Murphy. Eamon Corcoran, who returned to the action a fortnight ago and turned in a real tour de force that day after his 3-month suspension. Nicely taken by Colin Cassidy, gaining in confidence. Oh, Conor Gath couldn't hold on to it. It's Paul Kelly, his man, the left half back coming forward. He's got a lot of scores and a fine career so far, and he's now got another one. Not bad for a left half back. Got a point against Galway, and that's now his 17th point in Championship Hurling, and it's 3-2. That's a great score, but it should have been Gath to clear it downfield. Mullins again, the tactic, straight down the centre towards the man on the 40, or hope for a favourable break. Corcoran whipping on it here. Colin Cassidy retreating, expecting the challenge to come in, taking it away from Mark O'Leary, who's been anonymous so far. And Cassidy's shot is a bad one. Just hurried a little bit that time. Had a real opportunity. Made the scoring chance himself, however. Brendan Cummins towards John Carroll. We haven't seen too much of him so far. Inside towards Conor Gleeson. A rearranged Tipperary forward line hasn't knitted together favourably so far. Owen Kelly taking a lot out of it. Inside towards John Carroll, and again it's a very composed looking Offaly defence, and Brian Whelan excelling in there at centre half back. Runs on beyond Erity. And again, standing firm back at the heart of the defence there is Tom Costello towards Mark O'Leary. Maybe he can get into the game a bit more here. Colin Cassidy's been winning the duel. Comes out here towards Michael Cordial. First season in the championship action, although he came in as a sub in the game against Tip last year. And that pass down the centre has made the point there, and put over by Rory Hannafy from Burr. Good combined play then by Cassidy through to Rory Hannafy, and it's 4-2. Mark O'Leary replying, off the post, comes down and over the bar. That's his first. trying to get himself into the game a bit more, Mark O'Leary.
Yeah, you have an interesting tactics there. Tipperary are trying to speed up the game, whereas Offaly are trying to slow it down. Tipperary's puck-outs are coming very, very quickly, whereas Offaly prefer to settle on the ball and slow things down.
In a way, it can be the difference, I think, at times between Munster hurling and Leinster hurling. Munster can be 100 miles an hour, sometimes very, very productive, usually very exciting. But Leinster, in particular Offaly, can be very measured and slow and deliberate in the build-up. Here's Lar Corbett. Nice turn away here by Corbett against Niall Clappy. Fed inside here towards Gleeson, taking it there ahead of Ger Oakley. Trying to get far. What a save! That was an absolute flyer of a save by Brian Mullins, and Conor Gleeson can't believe it. Believe it, Conor. This had a goal for the taking here. He hit it really well. Credit the man who struck it, but credit the goalkeeper. One of the saves of the season. Brilliant.
Unbelievable save. With that blue light slitter, it's nearly impossible to save a shot like that, and I don't know how he got to it, but what a save.
And think back to the match against Wexford in the Leinster semi-final, and he kept Offaly in it for a long, long time.
He's a brilliant shot stopper, and even with the tracksuit bottom, he looks a bit unusual at times out there, but he's an outstanding goalkeeper.
Tommy Dunn to strike this one, and he's taken maximum care with it, and he's put it over the bar, his first point. So the team's level at 4 points apiece. Second time they've been level. Just look at the save again. This was wonderful goalkeeping. He flew through the air and made it look almost routine. It was anything but. Brian Wheelahan. Very nice, timely shoulder there on Brian O'Mara, imposing himself on the game. Cordial trying to pick himself up. Won by the other number 8, Benny Dunn here. The hand pass to space. Eddie Enright, and you could see he looked away immediately and cursed his luck, because that's Tipperary's 5th wide. Enright and Benny Dunn trying to win the battles in midfield. It's tough going. Brendan Murphy has switched into midfield. Alongside him is Michael Cordial. Barry Whelan has drifted into left half forward, where he's on Eamon Corcoran. Corcoran batting that one down as far as Tom Costello. Back to the forwards it comes once again. Beautifully taken here by Owen Kelly. Left hand side, whistle sounds, too many steps taken. And it's going to be a free out. Just when the Tipperary fans were on the edge of their seats, expecting something magical from this wonderful young player. He was adjusting the helmet there, he took far too many steps, and Ger Harrington from Carrigaline in Cork, spot on. Game settling down now. 4 points apiece. Pressure in there on the Tip defence. And again, it's Paul Curran doing well against Derrity, aided and abetted here by Eamon Corcoran. Up towards Lar Corbett, playing the top of the left, in against Niall Clappy. Facing back towards his own end line. Lovely turn. Tremendous confidence and good stick work. Cordial trying to break it down. Gary Hannafy arriving, just trying to tee something up. It's Cordial. And here comes John Carroll. Oh, shades of Salt Hill. Just 2 weeks ago inside Fords O'Mara, taking on Cassidy, taking on everybody else as well. And it's left behind there towards Niall Claffey. Can't deliver the clearance, however. And in the end, second time of asking, they get it away to midfield. Enright. Towards top of the left again it comes. This time towards Lar Corbett. Over there is Claffey, beaten to it. Out comes Oakley. Some dithering in the Offaly defence. Questions been asked. And that is Lar Corbett, and the umpire signalling that it's gone off the defender. And some attention is going to be required. Ger Oakley down there. And there's the umpire signalling a 65. Watch this again here. Oof, a hefty collision there involving Lar Corbett and also Ger Oakley.
So Gary Hannafy down as well on the other end of the field. So it's a worrying period for Offaly.
So the team doctor is Brendan Lee in there. And Barry Whelan has been replaced by Stephen Brown. And that after just 22.5 minutes. So early remedial action is taken by Mike McNamara and the Offaly bench. There's Gary Hanafy further out the field. He's on the about 50 metres or so out from the Tipperary goal. Watch the two men in the gold helmets here going down heavily under the challenge. There was Ger Oakley. Another 65 for Tommy Dunn. He's pointed one already, and he's got a second. Flawless work from Dunn, as you expect. And he's put Tipperary in front by just a point. Tip leading then for the first time in this quarter-final of the Guinness Hurling Championship. Stephen Brown going into midfield, where he's marking Benny Dunn, incidentally. The other midfielder of Tipperary is Eddie Enright, up towards Lark Corbett. Beautiful take. Nicely caught. Typical and familiar style by Corbett. Great finish. Great score by Lark Corbett. Once he gets out ahead of Niall Claffey, there is no denying him. Just watch it again here. Getting a yard away from his man, and he hitting it over his left shoulder, radar-like, finding the target.
And Ger, after making a lot of changes around midfield in the half-hour line at this stage, Tipperary are winning an awful lot of ball out there, and their supply ball into the forward is spot on, and they're getting a lot of time on the ball to do so.
Hanafy winning that ball in the air, trying to provide the fodder inside. Here comes Stephen Brown. Got a goal against Tip in the qualifier last year. No real danger to the Tipperary goal there. Brendan Cummins back up towards Lark Corbett. He's had 3 shots on the target. Made with that last point his first score. Back out towards Eddie Enright. Into space, in beyond Colin Cassidy. Tried to sting out of it. Had a chance to go back and gallop after it himself. John Carroll's after him. Whoops. In there was Stephen Brown with the challenge. Here comes Brendan Murphy. Missed by the fullback there, who was Paul Curran. We've yet to see that Tipperary full back line seriously tested by Offaly. Lark Corbett, the last man up. Linesman to throw it in there. Eddie Enright just about winning it, but it gets a crack there on his right foot, having lost the hurley. Neatly taken up here by Brian Carroll, a young man with a lot of talent. Taking it on there past his man, back towards Gary Hanafy. Didn't score against Limerick. Inside towards Rory Hanafy. He loses possession, and Eamon Corcoran has the chance to sweep it away. But rather careless with his clearance, and it's a line ball to Offaly. Pressure back on Tip. Here it is once again here. But the last piece of action involving Tipperary's Tom Costello. Wexford fans a little relieved, I'm sure, at this stage to know they're in the semi-finals. The draw won't be necessary tonight. We now know it is Cork against Wexford in the semi-final of the Guinness Championship on August the 10th. Following Sunday the 17th, Kilkenny are there against one of these. Who will it be? Tipperary or Offaly? Two between them right now. Tip coming again. Beautiful balance here by Mark O'Leary, taking on Cassidy, going for the score himself. He's put it well to the left. Mark O'Leary with 1 point so far. I think the attention there of Colin Cassidy might have just put him off ever so slightly, but he should have scored. John Carroll now on the 40 on Brian Wheelahan. They've tried 3 different players on Wheelahan so far, trying to break his dominance in there. Tommy Dunn trying to be the same at centre half for Tipperary. Kicked ahead. Carroll running into Eddie Enright. Brian Carroll nicely on. Sting taken out of it again. Enough for the goalkeeper to come and look commanding. Out to Corcoran. 2 men after him from Offaly. Towards Owen Kelly. Down by Franks. The referee says using his arm to push away the forward. Free into Tipperary, who lead by 2. Over 27 minutes gone then in the first half. And the referee indicating, there he is, push with the right hand. There you go, and I'll take the ball. Good chance then for Owen Kelly to get his first point in this match. Should be. It'll do him a lot of good. It might be the moment in the game when Owen Kelly can settle down a little bit more and be a bit more expressive, but he's having it really difficult against David Franks. Mullins towards one of the Hanafis. They're both in there in the corner, and it's one back here by Mark O'Leary of Tipperary, beyond John Carroll's. Taken out of it there, and one back by Brian Wheelahan. That's Colm Cassidy. Brian Carroll breaking it. And again, there's Martin Maher. Very fine step dancer and hurler. Into the clear, into space here. John Carroll trying to take command of the situation. Lar Corbett trying to hold it. Stopped by Colm Cassidy again. Lovely turn. Gets it away well. Broken down here. Rory Hanafi. Next it's Brendan Murphy. Coming back was Eddie Enright. Martin Maher is there as well. The left corner back for Tipperary. Good clearance under pressure. Michael Cordial jumping for it. Plenty of other players around as well. Hanafi knocking it back down. Beautiful pick up by Brian Carroll, going through for Offaly, running into 2 or 3 Tipperary players. Upended, and the referee says free in, and Tommy Dunn curses his luck, and they all look for an explanation. And Ger Harrington, nonplussed by it all, decides it's going to be a free in for the faithful county. That push into the back by Martin Maher. There's a shoulder into the back of Carroll, so a chance to put just 2 between them again. Rory Hanafi, the regular free taker.
I think Offaly will be a lot happier at this stage. They haven't really settled into the game yet. They're only going to be a couple of points behind. Tipperary have dominated, especially around the half-back line, middle of the field, but they've had a few bad wides, and Offaly are still well in the game.
It's Rory Hanafi's second point, the first from a free, and he really is a very consistent score getter. And even though Offaly, as you say, haven't really settled into it, if they get those chances and Hanafi is put on the spot, he'll have to respond time and again. Responding well here, Benny Dunn. Stopped by Brian Wheelahan. One back, however, by Corcoran. He fumbled, and the linesman spot on. Line ball to Offaly. Offaly's so good at doing this, staying close to the opponents right throughout a match and then striking, sometimes at the death. They're a very unpredictable team, it seems to me, whereas Tipperary have been very uneven in their performances, brilliant at times, like the 25 minutes of the second half against Galway, and then a total collapse. Colm Cassidy to hit this. Stopped by Corcoran, looked around to see who was after him. It was Brian Carroll, and second time of asking, chance to grab possession again. Kelly breaks it down, coming in is Brian O'Mara into the clear. Still O'Mara, he's kicked it in. Half an hour gone. The big break coming to Tipperary. It's just his second ever goal in Championship hurling. He's made it 1-7 to 5 points, and the only other goal he's ever scored came against Offaly last year. It's a fair old breakthrough for Tipperary. They got the break there. Brady was after him but couldn't stop him. It comes out to Cordial. Now there's a gap. Here comes Brian Carroll. They need a goal here. Stopped by Brendan Cummins. Doesn't even go for a 65. Pressure still on. Back in there by Gath. Conor Gath's cross, however, is taken by Eddie Enright. Out into the corner to Tom Costello, and he swung around, and it's a free out for Tipperary. Swung by Gary Hanafi. Real hint of frustration there by Hanafi, but this is the shot by Brian Carroll, and it produced this save by Brendan Cummins. It was a real bullet, and the keeper stood up well, and there's a yellow card for Gary Hanafi, the Offaly captain. How games can turn around.
Yeah, well, Brian Carroll got so much room there. It was like a training session the way he walked through there. And Brendan Cummins, that's the second very good save. Here's Brian O'Mara coming through. And you know, Joe Brady has criticised a bit in Offaly for lacking pace, and it showed there. Brian O'Mara broke through and finished at the net.
More pressure on the Offaly defence, and it's this time John Carroll. So difficult to stop. And they get it away out of danger in the end there by the cornerback, David Franks. Holding on to it here, Paul Kelly. Then having to chase after it, pursued by Brendan Murphy. Back there to help out was Rory Hannafy. A little pile-up. That's Paul Kelly trying to play it into the clear. Mark O'Leary dodging away from Brian Whelan. He's put it wide. Game is pepped up a little bit here from a Tipperary point of view, but that is a total of 7 wides for Tip against just 3 for Offaly. But watch once again here as Brian O'Mara took it away from Joe Brady. Nobody able to get a decent challenge on O'Mara, and that was enough. Benny Dunn now back here, taken away from Stephen Brown. Coming out here is Niall Claffey. Plenty of pace in it. Rory Hannafy keeping it in play, but deflected away towards Eddie Enright. Beats the attempted block of Cordial, back towards Mark O'Leary. Inside towards O'Mara once again. And that's an interesting switch. O'Mara going back into full forward there on Ger Oakley. And of course also Conor Gleeson never too far away. Just a minute of normal time of the 35 to play, and there'll be a minute of additional time on top of that. So about 2 minutes left in this first half. Offaly battling, but not really playing with the fluency that they're capable of. Stopped by Tipperary's overall grit and determination as Cordial knocks it in, puts it wide once again. 4 wides for Offaly. They haven't been able to match Tipperary quite stride for stride, and that crucial goal after a half an hour by Brian O'Mara having a settling effect for the Premier men. And this is going to be Tipperary possession. Coming out to take the free is going to be Owen Kelly. Point from a free so far, 1 from 2. This is about 50 metres out, little or no breeze around. Some blue sky, but lots of cloud as well overhead. Crowd of around 45,000. That's over. Doing the business once again, but the quick puck out here, coming out to Colin Cassidy. While Tip were celebrating, Offaly were getting on with it. They need a score or two before half-time. Gary Hannafy breaking it down, aided by his brother Rory. Comes back out towards Stephen Brown. Bad ball again. That vital pass out of midfield into the forwards has been very misplaced. And Stephen Brown needs to be inch perfect and begin to link up with the men inside. We haven't seen Joe Erity get any possession at all so far. Here's Mark O'Leary switching across onto the left wing. Inside towards John Carroll, stopped however and won well by Brian Whelan. They're still only, 6 points behind. And that's Martin Maher, down he goes. And it's going to be a free out for Tipperary. A couple of players coming after him that time, and there was a leg back out. Nice bit of ballet stuff, but it upended Maher. And the player doing the upending, Brendan Murphy. Offaly won't be pleased with this first half. They haven't played well. Tip haven't been magnificent, but they have a lead of 6 points at this stage. And Brian Whelan will try to get the rest of his colleagues up to the necessary pitch for the remaining 35 minutes of action. Otherwise, their campaign in the 2003 championship will be over. Brian O'Mara's goal after 30 minutes when he ran onto that ball, beat Brady and the rest to crack it in past Brian Mullins, has firmly separated the teams. But Tip have been the better side, no question about that. And at half-time here at Croke Park, it's a scoreline which reads Tipperary 1-8, Offaly 5 points. So we're going to find out what people have to think about that, have to say about that, as well as we go and join Darragh Maloney.
Stephen Byrne of Offaly, what is the Offaly view at half-time?
Just a goal there before half-time. I think it's going to upset them a bit, but they're hurling well, they've settled great, and we needed to get a good start, and I think we did. But in fairness, we could have went in a lot more only for the brilliance of Brian Mullins down there. And in fairness, Brendan Cummins after making 2 great stops as well. So, you know, there could be a lot more goals in the game, but only for the goalkeepers, you know.
The Offaly forwards not getting much change out of the Tipperary backs.
Well, from our first game at Croke Park this afternoon, Wexford through to the All-Ireland semi-finals against Cork. But the issue in the second game, of course, is who will go through between Tipperary and Offaly. A look at the statistics from the first half of that particular quarter-final coming up here right now. And we will check with you the scoreline first of all. Tip winning at half-time by 1-8 to 5 points. The rest of those stats will be with us a little bit later on. Sherlock Nan and Cyril Farrell here with me in studio. The odd thing about this game, Cyril, is I suppose, as I said earlier, going into these matches, you'd be looking forward to the Tip Offaly match maybe a little bit more. As it turns out, the other game was a better game.
Well, it's always very hard to come second, you know what I mean, like come second on after a very exciting game. But like, it's quite a good game. Tipperary half-backline midfield are really on top at the moment, and like they're playing a lot of ball into the Tip forwards, who started off very hesitant, and now they're getting the range. And with the goal going in, it gives them that bit of a gap. Awfully very economical, but putting a lot of wides that usually they wouldn't go do as such.
Yeah.
But the game it's kind of dead, seems to be looking at it. It hasn't lifted as much as the Wexford Antrim game, which was very exciting. But it's all to play for. Offaly will have to do some drastic change at half time to get back into the game.
One suspects the pace of the game will increase as we get into the second half, and obviously the issue of who's going to be the All-Ireland semi-final gets closer and closer to hand.
That's true, and you'd have to say that Tipperary are forcing the pace at the moment, at quick puck outs, and they're playing a lot faster ball than Offaly are. But Offaly played nice and relaxed anyway. They're down 6 points. It's going to take some comeback. Like, and Tip will fancy their chances from here, 6 up at half time. Yeah,
we had a look at the stats from that first half there, Ger. That's exactly the point. I mean, Offaly have it all to do. You feel, I kind of feel Tip will go on, kind of. You know, that
yeah.
Offaly are struggling a little bit.
You just get that feeling that Tip will push on in the second half. The only thing is, Michael, Offaly can't be as bad in the second half, you know. Only for Colm Cassidy and David Franks that have been blown out the gate by now, you know. And a little bit of hesitancy in the Tipperary full forward line as well. Owen Kelly not as sharp as he usually is, relying an awful lot on Lark Corbett. And then, of course, Tip got the break of the goal, but all over the field, it's kind of a lethargic display. Except for what really surprises me is the Tipperary defence. Martin Maher is outstanding in the corner. Eamon Corcoran brilliant at wing back. Tommy Dunn outstanding at centre back. So the Tip defence are controlling the game at the moment. Eddie Enright, he's up the field, he's back at his own 21, he's working really, really hard. And Tip at the moment are working harder. They're more skillful, they're more direct than Offaly. But Offaly will have to improve in the second half. I think they will. And Tip could yet regret that they haven't opened a bigger gap than the 6 points. They should be way more than 6 points ahead with the way they're playing. But Offaly are hanging in there, and you know Offaly in the second half, their reputation for coming back. If they get a goal, tack on a few scores, then we could be in for a right good second half. But we need a good second half because the first game has been way, way better than this.
They should be perhaps more ahead, as Ger said. Nonetheless, the goal has helped them put them 6 points up. And you can't always rely on goals to come for you. But Brian O'Mara took his well.
Yeah, well, like the goalies are playing so well, Michael. They brought up fantastic save. But with the goal that Brian O'Mara got, he came down the middle, picked up a great ball. Offaly defence were coming out, got caught, went right through and kicked into the back net. You can just see it here from a quick defence. He's going to break inside here now. Just a little flick on the ground. He goes down. Now he gets it first touch up, continues on and kicks it left-footed into the net. Gives the goalie no chance because both Cummins and Mullins have been fantastic. Here again, now his first touch here is perfect. Full back, as he's gone out on the ball and has been beaten. So he has no one to, there's a hole down the middle. The mentors will be saying, where the hell was everyone in the full back then? These things can happen, but it gives Mullins no chance, because if he got a chance, this guy blocked it more than Brendan Cummins there, you know. But Michael, one important point for Tipperary, I talked about before the game, mental attitude now is very important. If they're strong mentally, they'll win this game. So far this year, they've been very weak mentally, both against Galway, in the last game, and in the league game, and in the league final against Kilkenny. Now is the time to take these doubts out of their mind.
And that's true, because if you think if Offaly cut loose, you can still think the Tip might fade out of this game, because there's no real penetration in their forwards. There's a lot of hit and hope, a lot of balls hit from the sideline wide at their own side. Mark O'Leary has about 3 balls wide at his own side. Not the usual pattern that you'd associate with the Tipperary forward line. Not the usual liveliness or that cutting edge that they usually have. That's not there today. But at the same time, they're comfortably ahead, and if they pull farther ahead, they could just run away with this game.
Gentlemen, on a side issue, I suppose, in a kind of way on the game, I mean, you'd always have to have the greatest of admiration for hurling goalkeepers, so standing in there with those shots whizzing in. 2 saves in that first half. We're just top to our stuff.
2 or 3, Gerald. Like Cummins brought half one early on, and Cummins again did. Here's young Larry Robertson in the ball here. It's going to
Mullins.
Yeah, it's going to zip in here. Now Mullins he looks unusual, but here, like, Gleeson takes a brilliant shot. You can't see him in the daylight, but it's a fantastic save. Dives across, touches around. Now you'll see it here. Touches actually around for a 65. But Tommy Dunn comes up to the 65 and actually points it. Whereas here it's quite different. Now Carroll goes for a goal here, and he's right. Again, a brilliant shot. Brilliant save by Cummins. But nothing comes out of this Tipperary actually save. Here again, he goes for it on his favourite left-hand side. bang, and Cummins actually turns it away.
Now,
You know,
that second save is a way ahead of the first save. That second save from Cummins is just top-class stuff.
Yeah.
I think the first save, Mullins got a long time to see the ball coming. You know, it was about 22 yards out. He got a long time to see it coming. He made it look really good. Now, it wasn't that far away from him, but Cummins got no chance with that. You know, so it was right in over his head. He'd get his hurley up, and to turn it right across the goal was excellent.
If I was standing in the Offaly goal the first time, I'd see the ball as soon as behind me at the back of the net.
And so would I.
We take a break. We're back in the second half after that. Welcome back again to the programme. The teams are back on the field at Croke Park. Tipperary leading Offaly by 1-8 to 5 points at half-time. Let's go back again and join Ger Canning.
There is the start of the second half, and one change being made by Offaly. They've brought on Simon Wheelahan as a replacement for Joe Erity, and they have restructured things in the full forward line. There's Wheelahan. Just at the start of the second half, he goes in full forward to replace Joe Erity, who didn't really touch the ball in that first half, and Benny Dunn, while we were talking there, has got himself a yellow card. All happening in the first minute then of this second half. Free to Offaly. Rory Hannafy, the striker, dropped away to the left-hand side, and nothing really very profitable happening for them this afternoon. Tom Costello walking away from it, and there's his team manager, Michael Doyle. Brendan Cummins in his 9th championship season. Cummins. Rory Hannafy has gone to midfield to link up with Michael Cordial. That's Brian Wheelahan. Pressurised, coming forward. It's Mark O'Leary in the clear. Carroll's alongside him, holds on to it and strikes a great goal. What a start to the second half for Tipperary, and for John Carroll, a goal after 2 minutes of the half, making it 2-8 to 5 points. This is his only scoring chance, brilliantly fed into him by Mark O'Leary. What a finish, absolutely devastating.
That's John Carroll at his best. An unbelievable finish. Rory Hannafy put Brian Whelan under fierce pressure there, and it's very hard to see Offaly coming back from this now. 9 points down.
5 goals John Carroll has now scored at this level. Back come Offaly, but Brendan Murphy, who's playing at right half forward right now, has put it wide. Just watch this again here. Mark O'Leary was selfless. Great vision to pick out Carroll. Unmarked. Bang. No stopping it. Great start to the second half for Tipperary, who right now are on course to play Kilkenny in the second of the Guinness semi-finals, but there's a long way to go yet. Is there a fight back in Offaly? They'll have to start going pretty soon. Eddie Enright. Owen Kelly just trying to reach around Joe Brady. One away here by David Franks. Brendan Cummins, having made that great save in the first half. Good clearance. Brian O'Mara coming for it, missing it, runs on towards Lark Corbett, away from Niall Claffey, confidently going for it, just missed it. Decent enough chance. Tipperary's 10th wide, first of the second half, but they've made this explosive start for the second 35 minutes. They'll feel confident and their fans will be happy. Enright touching it down. Brian Wheelahan, man who once scored, I think it was a goal and 6 in the All-Ireland final. Here's Tommy Dunn, playing with great confidence, oozing confidence in the centre half, up towards Conor Gleeson, taken down by Ger Oakley, and every time the question's been asked of Oakley by Conor Gleeson, the Offaly man hasn't necessarily got positive answers.
Great catch there by Conor Gleeson. Great direct ball by Tommy Dunn. It's a yellow card coming up here, but the Tipperary half-back line midfield are completely dominating the game, and you know, especially in midfield after they've been well beaten, and they need to make a change there to get back into the game.
Barry Wheelahan was taken off in the first half, you'll remember, and he had about 3 or 4 different partners in the game against Limerick, and that's Owen Kelly striking it high, his 3rd pointed free, and it's all going very nicely for the blue and gold. 2-9 to 5 points they lead. He's happy. from the puck out up towards Gary Hannafy, collects well, then it hits off Benny Dunn. Good clearance away by Dunn towards Niall Corbett at top of the left, grabs it well there against Niall Claffey, and Claffey holding onto his man, free into Tipperary, and the pattern just continues. Tipperary in the ascendancy and Offaly struggling all over the park. Offaly having had 10 days to recover from the exertions of Semple Stadium and that qualifier against Limerick. Here comes Owen Kelly, and that's gone wide. That's 3 pointed frees out of 5 efforts. Not quite on song. Again, you have to credit David Franks for a lot of that, not giving him easy chances, reading his intentions. Gary Hannafy leaves it behind. Paul Kelly trying to take it up onto his stick. John Carroll coming in here. Brian O'Mara trying to hold possession. All a bit aimless from Offaly. Brendan Murphy the last to touch it. It'll be Tipperary's line ball. Tommy Dunn is down injured. Brendan Cummins also receiving some treatment. Andy O'Connor is the physio. This game will delight the Tipperary fans all over the globe. But they'll be concerned about the current health of Tommy Dunn. It may be a knee problem that is troubling him just now. He went down in a heap there, as you saw, having challenged for that ball with Gary Hannafy. There was no contact, hit the ground hard. And there's Eamon Corcoran. Jim Kilty there attending to him. John Hayes, who tells me that his brother Martin is watching this in Spain, along with a pal of his, Joe Kennedy. Kilty, who's a great athletic coach, one of the best known coaches in the country, looking after the well-being of Tipperary players, as Tommy Dunn is back on his feet once again, able to resume, and it'll be a line ball to Tipperary. Still looks a little bit shaken, hoping he can run it off. Meanwhile, the other centre half back, Brian Wheelahan, hoping his team can get into something approaching life. Again, some holding. Tom Costello having had some words with the referee, but it may be because of some persistent holding, and Brendan Cummins is still in distress. Well, we've seen in the last match involving one of these teams where Offaly lost the services of Brian Mullins towards the end, and it could be hamstring. Might be a problem here. Oh, you can see it there on the side of the thigh. Conor Gath has gone off, and coming on for Offaly is Damien Murray. That's the latest change being made by the faithful county. Murray has scored 4 points against Dublin in the qualifiers, coming on for his 6th championship match. Dr. Jerry O'Sullivan there attending to the goalkeeper, Brendan Cummins. Again, there is a lot of concern.
Brendan Cummins had a very serious leg injury a number of years ago, and let's hope it's not a recurrence of that. It looks, you can see a scar there, and he certainly had a major operation back maybe 2 or 3 years ago on one of his legs.
I think he damaged the leg when he came out to make the save in a goal incident a little while ago. He's still on the field. Offaly under more pressure. Owen Kelly just couldn't connect. Brian Wheelahan back there to save Offaly once again towards Michael Cordial. Neat catch, gets it away from Eddie Enright, beyond Gary Hannafy, beyond Brian Carroll as well, and taking it and playing a stormer is Martin Maher. Mark O'Leary beating Colm Cassidy to it, unable to direct it as he would wish, and it's going to be a line ball for Offaly. Let's just have a little look at this again here, as Owen Kelly was threatening, but he was denied. It just ran away from him. There were so many bodies breathing down his neck. Not a satisfactory day for Offaly. Mike Mack said at one stage after the game against Limerick, bring on Tip. Well, he's got his way, but they haven't been able to respond. Eamon Corcoran dropped it down. Out it comes here towards Brian Carroll, or towards John Carroll. Here's Brian O'Mara. Gets there, beats Michael Cordial to it. Here's David Franks, still playing some good hurling. Nice catch by Paul Kelly. Very composed at wing back, one of the best around. It's broken to space to Brian Wheelahan to drive it towards Gary Hannafy. Offaly needing a goal. Tipperary grouping well at half-back and midfield. Played into space by Stephen Brown. Coming forward is Colm Cassidy, a point scorer so far. Went for the goal that time, stopped by Cummins. No real hint of the injury there. Out as far as Tom Costello. And Tip, once again, set off towards the Offaly goal. Owen Kelly looking for Benny Dunn. Instead, here's Brian Wheelahan towards his brother Simon, trying to profit if anything breaks his way. That's Paul Curran with the clearance. Again out there is Rory Hannafy. Keep on lobbing it in, this time to Brian Carroll, turning into challenges. Back it comes towards Gary Hannafy, and that has gone over the bar. The big man, the captain, getting his first point of the afternoon. Just about keeping Offaly in touch, but it's only their first point of the second half, and it's taken 11 minutes. Not too many Offaly highlights in this match. Very little to cheer about. They made hard weather of it there and hard work of it. It was over in the end by Gary Hannafy. Benny Dunn always looks to have lots of space. Eddie Enright almost toying with Offaly at this stage. Brian Wheelahan, bad clearance out to Enright. That's a total of 13 wides now by Tipperary, and his side's chances dying a death here in Croke Park unless they can get something going pretty quickly. They are 9 behind Offaly. Not looking like doing the business, but you never know. Here's Brendan Murphy on for Gary Hannafy, a point already. He's gone for another one. 2 in a row then. They still believe it. Well, I wonder how many Offaly fans still really believe in their hearts that their team are in with a chance of getting to the semi-finals. There is time. This time it's Joe Brady who's beaten for it. Cordial battling hard at midfield. Winning it here is Paul Kelly. What a match he's playing. Trying to link up with O'Mara. One instead there by Cordial. Into the corner comes Martin Maher, one of the unsung heroes. Enjoying himself at Croke Park, reveling in the big atmosphere here. O'Mara trying to take it up onto the stick. Breaks loose in the head towards John Carroll, and that's very wide indeed. Tipperary now just hoping to dig in there with this handsome lead and just match Offaly stride for stride. Offaly trying to put it up to them now. Rory Hannafy now operating in midfield, but he knew from the moment it left his stick it was nowhere near Brendan Cummins' goal. Cummins seems to have shaken off the effect of the injury, incidentally. No great indication of distress on his part. Puck out to Tip. Missed by John Carroll, now operating on the 40 once again, inside towards Owen Kelly. They look for another score here. Blocked down by Cassidy, great block. Franks here. There really is some great defending, but it's been incessant defending from an Offaly point of view. The pressure coming wave after wave from the Tipperary team into their forwards. Carroll towards Gleeson, still operating with a fair amount of effect in there at full forward against Ger Oakley. Breaks out to Mark O'Leary, and it's just wide. Tipperary much the better team. Offaly don't seem to have answers, beaten in so many departments. But this was a great block down just a little while ago there by Colm Cassidy, one of the few Offaly stars on duty.
Tipperary seem to be physically far more powerful than Offaly, and they're winning every 50-50 ball. Brian Whelan and Colm Cassidy, but the only two Offaly players really that are playing up to their potential.
Mention of Cassidy, he knocks it in here towards Brian Carroll. He's got it, good possession, trying to take it on, waiting for a free. Referee doesn't blow his whistle, and the ball is cleared away by Martin Maher once again outside to John Carroll. Exhibition stuff on occasions by Tipperary. Gleeson pleading with the referee. He was being held by Ger Oakley, a referee not heeding the plea. Mullins then setting up Colm Cassidy. The counter-attack by Offaly. Rising up for it there was Brendan Murphy. Inside towards Simon Whelan. Ball pulled off the ground with his hand. He's absolutely furious with referee Ger Harrington. And in the end, in annoyance, Brian Carroll drives it off the field. Stephen Brown has been substituted. Watch this again here.
That ball definitely was bouncing. He didn't touch it on the ground. The
He's absolutely furious, as you saw. Neville Coughlin, his start of the match against Limerick, is into the action. Off goes Stephen Brown. So lots and lots of substitutions been made by Mike McNamara and his fellow selectors. They've used 4 of the 5. Eamon Corcoran. Huge one down again. Rory Hannafy back to gather. An initial fumble there. Again, it is Eamon Corcoran setting forth, like to score himself. The umpires decide, yes, that's spot on. It's his first point. And that's some record by the Tipperary half-back line. Each and every one of them has now scored. Tommy Dunn with 2 from 65, Paul Kelly from play, and Corcoran from play. Looking good for Tip, to 10 to 7 points they lead. And we're in the 17th minute of the second half. Overall looking like a pretty bad day for Offaly. Colm Cassidy towards Simon Whelan, won there by Paul Curran. Out to Eddie Enright, industrious as ever, determined. Franks dragging it away, aware of the presence there of Owen Kelly, conceding a line ball. Well, the anticipated fire from Offaly just hasn't materialised. There were doubts in many people's minds going into the match that they might be able to match Tipperary. That goal before half-time set Tip up, scored by Brian O'Mara. And here he is again, 45 metres out, looking to add to his individual tally. Just the goal to show. Lots of effort as well. Overall, Tipperary more or less saying to us here, we have the talent and the wherewithal to advance well into August and perhaps beyond. Missed by Cordial. Tommy Dunn taking it up. Lovely shot by Dunn. What composure, what striking. 3 points by the great number 6, to 11 to 7 points. It's looking like Tip versus Kilkenny, a repeat of this year's National League final. And that, if you remember, it was a huge high-scoring game. It now looks as though it's just, well, the repeat of it, just 3 weeks away.
I think after we're pinning their hopes today on pucking high ball down to Gary Hannafy, and it hasn't worked. Tommy Dunn has been very dominant, and there you can see the class that he has there. He won the ball in the air, knocked it forward, and then followed it up with a great score from over 80 yards out.
They didn't seem to have a plan B, Michael, after that.
No, there's no plan B, and you know it's very like a challenging match here at the moment now. You know, it's very dead. After you're pucking the ball up the field, but it's coming back just as quick, and Tipperary are well on top all over the field. The only worry I think that they'll have is that maybe the loss of form of Owen Kelly.
That's Carroll setting it up here. Coming in as Cordial, misses his strike. The defenders standing there grouping well. And still they try to battle their way through somehow. Neville Coughlin Still outfoxed by Corcoran, runs low, spills onto Cordial, he misses a shot. Rory Hannafy's there as well. They need a goal. They'll take 2 or 3 if they can get them. They'll have to be content with just a 65. Offaly threatened for once. Still a bit of life in the faithful county. They never give up until the 70th minute. All a bit frantic. Tom Costello there, playing in his 15th championship match. Playing here, having been taken off in Salthill with a rib injury. He was also having difficulty with Kevin Broderick that afternoon, I seem to remember. And there's a man who's got difficulties, Mike McNamara. Brian Wheelahan to strike, dropping it in short. Tommy Dunn's about. Shoulder, down he goes. The shoulder from Brian Carroll. As the ball handled on the ground, the referee says it's a free in. Begins to just get a little bit heated, but Offaly with an awful lot to do. They've only scored 2 points in the second half. And that's where the ball was on the ground here. Lots of appeals from the Offaly players. Tommy Dunn is down once again in the wars. Second time the team doctor, Jerry O'Sullivan, has had to come in and attend to him. Conor Gleeson and Brian O'Mara, by the way, have switched positions, and it's Gleeson is back on the 40. O'Mara's gone in at full forward on Ger Oakley. Just trying to freshen things up, but the concern is really for Tommy Dunn at this stage. If it's anyway serious, I'm sure they won't take a chance with him. Well, if maybe the ligaments that were causing him the problems earlier on, and they're not going to take a chance. Off he comes, they're well in front, and it's looking like they have a semi-final of the Guinness All-Ireland Hurling Championship coming up in 3 weeks' time. They'll need him. David Kennedy has come in. He's a ready-made replacement to come in at centre half. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, it's Offaly who have a free from 20 metres out. It'll be taken by Brian Carroll. The sympathetic round of applause you're listening to in the background is for Tommy Dunn, a real tip favourite, a favourite with hurling fans everywhere. He's going for a goal, but it's gone over. Brian Carroll's first point. Real disappointing afternoon for him. 2-11 to 8 points, denied a goal in the first half with a sparkling save by Brendan Cummins, so Dunn is off. No need to continue to play him out there and risk further damage to that injury. Good catch. John Carroll goes down under the challenge there of Joe Brady. But too many of the Offaly players have been well below their best form this afternoon. One of them, Joe Brady there, who committed that foul, gets a ticking for it. Owen Kelly, 3 points from frees. Not a great deal happening for him aside from that. This is about 47 metres out. Again, he stands up to the challenge and fires it over accurately. So 2-12 to 8 points. And looking like a handsome victory for Tipperary. Brian Mullins in a hurry down the centre, 2 against 1 there, and it's Benny Dunn combining, kicking it forward towards Lar Corbett at top of the left, drifting out into the half line. John Carroll, what a take by Carroll on towards Owen Kelly. Can he finish here in style? This will make a nice point. Certainly is that. Press from play. But a couple of others involved in the wizardry that set up Kelly's 5th point. John Carroll there knocking it ahead here for Kelly to take it in his stride, left-hand side, and he sweeps it over. Change by Tipperary. Lar Corbett's going off, and Ger, known as the Reds or O'Grady, is on. Got a point in Salthill, 2 points in the championship so far. And it comes from Thurles, and he lives right alongside Semple Stadium. Batted on that time by Brendan Murphy for Offaly. Still giving chase, but all you feel very, very much in vain in this disappointing semi or quarter-final semi to come. Benny Dunn, Eamon Corcoran forward there for Eddie Enright. Just a quick lapse of concentration by Enright, having to forage himself, chasing after him. pursued there by Joe Brady. Brian Wheelahan mishit that one, but it still reached a colleague being Rory Hannafy. Brian Carroll snapped away from his grasp there by the very tidy Martin Maher. Won back by Michael Cordial for Offaly. Nicely inside. It's an opportunity. And this has been gained for Offaly by Damien Murray. A lot of people were surprised when he was omitted from the Offaly team for the game against Limerick, but here he is coming through here. A couple of players hanging off him. And it means that there's a free in for Offaly. Joe Brady, by the way, has been taken off the Offaly team, and Barry Tehan becomes their 5th and final sub. So they played their full hand. Not too much time left for them. And once again, it's Brian Carroll hitting it over, but his intention was to hit it under. Just lifted it a bit too much. 10 minutes to go. And it's 2-13 to 9 points. Couple of quick goals for Offaly, and still an awful lot of work to do. And plenty of prayer. John Carroll challenging over there with Barry Tehan. Tipperary on the sideline here appealing to the referee and linesman, but it's going to be Offaly's ball. Bit of a push, and the free to be taken by Brian Wheelahan. Striking it in outside towards his brother Simon, comes back out here to David Kennedy. Blocked down there by Brian Carroll, spills loose. Bit of support here. Offaly looking threatening. Again, it's carried forward with Brendan Murphy onside towards Wheelahan, and this time it is the substitute Simon who gets it over the bar. His first point of the match came on during the half-time break, and 9 points separating the teams.
There's very little life in the game now, Jerry. You just get the impression whenever Tip want up with the gear to just go ahead and do it, and after putting a few points on the board now for pride more than anything, it's a very disappointing game.
Certainly is that. Amara inside once again, a great stop. Once again, it's John Carroll who was in for his second goal but denied by Brian Mullins. That would have been some afternoon for John Carroll. And Tipcom once again, it's Eamon Corcoran here. The hand pass to the clear, not the greatest of passes inside there for Owen Kelly. Didn't give him much chance. Prodded ahead by Brendan Murphy. Anywhere will do. But Offaly look very disjointed, lacking leadership in key positions, and well beaten. Carroll all this while, by the way, following his last effort to score a goal for Tipperary, is in need of attention. Might even have to leave the field. Brian Carroll trying to take it around Mark O'Leary, succeeding. O'Leary getting back goal side. Offaly almost playing like a group of individuals. The teamwork is coming from Tipperary. Paul Kelly. This is the new man in, Barry Tehan. Corcoran against 3 Offaly players, and he still manages to get it like a magnet. Just falls into his hand, and Michael Cordial shakes the head ruefully. This is that effort a little while ago there, and it was a great save by Brian Mullins to deny John Carroll. Tipperary have made a change. Mark O'Leary has been replaced, and Dennis Byrne has come in. Said to have been suffering from a dead leg at the end of the first half against Galway, but he's in here in Croke Park in the quarter-final to share in the glory. For that, it certainly seems to be now. Paul Kelly taking the free. Just a matter of how much Tipperary are going to win by. Kelly has got a second point. Well, if Owen takes them from near in, Paul takes the long range frees on occasions, and that was a beauty. So 2 goals and 4 points between the teams. Offaly still trying their best, playing for pride. They always do. They never give up the ghost, and that is over by Damien Murray. Oh, sorry, is it wide? It's wide indeed. Missed opportunity. Brendan Cummins. Just about 6 minutes of the 70 to go. Paul Kelly. Drops nicely over. No, it doesn't. It drops under. Brian Mullins with the clearance. Same old pattern. Tipperary dominant, just firing it forward, giving their forward players opportunities. Owen Kelly trying to drag it away from the attentions of David Franks. Inside towards Dennis Byrne, challenging hard for it. Gleason's in there as well. Franks taking it away from Owen Kelly. Benny Dunn breaking it. Colm Cassidy. He's had a good match, but he's destined to end on the losing side. Simon Wheelahan coming in there on his 27th birthday today. Not such a happy birthday for him. Cassidy again breaking that one down away from Brian O'Mara. The clearance is by Rory Hannafy. Tipperary dominant everywhere, so sharp. That was Costello who got it, that vital touch. Wasn't really noticed, but he kept the ball away from his own goal. Under pressure again, Tipperary, but they're coping with it all over the place, looking so composed. There's a unity of purpose about them. Neville Coughlin. Again, it's Paul Curran. And Simon Wheelahan adjudged to have fouled the Tipperary full-back. Paul Curran, the student in Waterford. John Carroll has gone off with that injury, and Colm Morrissey is coming on. First time to play in the championship. So Tipper enabled to run through their subs list now to give some players experience, well aware that the tie is won. Dennis Byrne. And that is adjudged to have just gone wide. 17 wides for Tipperary. On another day they might be very concerned about the miss hits, but they've had so much in reserve, so much ahead of their opponents today. Paul Kelly coming forward, fancying his chances. Why not? That's the third. He's had a great game, but then so many of the players have had a great game, and Tip have absolutely overwhelmed Offaly. Well, last year Offaly got beaten by Tipperary in the qualifiers by 13 points, and right now there's 2 goals and 5 between them, so 11 points the margin. Not much changes in 12 months, it seems, in this level of hurling. Rory Hannafy inside towards his brother Gary. 2 points so far for the afternoon. Again trying to motor forward there into the corner. Oof. Came back off a heel that time towards Gary Hannafy, and it scored! Goal for Offaly, and Gary Hannafy strikes it in after 33 minutes of the second half. 68th minute of the game. Came back to him, and his shot deceiving Brendan Cummins up into the corner.
Probably go down as an own goal in soccer, Gerard, but it gives Offaly very little to shout about at this stage.
I wouldn't exactly send postcards to the relatives in the States about this one if I were you.
It's very, very disappointing, and Tipperary will be looking forward to. Tipperary won't be looking forward to an All-Ireland semi-final clash with Kilkenny again, and it's back to the drawing board for Offaly for another 12 months.
It is that. Owen Kelly has support in the clear that time, but decided to bypass Conor Gleeson. Went for the score himself. Wasn't the correct option. In a tighter match, I think a couple of his colleagues would have let him know about that. Batted down by David Kennedy. In comes Enright. Gary Hannafy only gives it away to the other number 11, who is Conor Gleeson. Very, very poor finish to this match. It hasn't been a good game. First quarter-final, much the better of the two matches. Still Tipperary raiding with Colin Morrissey. Plays it back to Conor Gleeson. That'll do. Only his first point of the match, but it means that well, quite a number of players have scored. Just going through the list, I think it's 10. 10 out of 15 isn't half bad. Might get another one here. Dennis Byrne. So the 70 minutes just about up at this stage, and nobody really cares whether the referee plays 1, 2 or 3 minutes more at this stage. It's well beyond Offaly's reach, has been for an awfully long time. And the speculation will get started immediately after this. How good Tipperary are. Will they have the measure of Kilkenny in the league final here on Bank Holiday Monday? Back in May, I think it was 5-14 to 5-13. Great match. Very loose marking, mind you. And this time it's Offaly who tried to benefit again late in the game. And the man coming in with the last shot there was Neville Coughlin, denied. And it's gone out for a 65. Well, he'd have remembered his afternoon, having come off the bench as a sub there, but denied by a combination of Tipperary legs and sticks. I'm not sure how satisfied Tipperary will be after all of this. They've had it too easy against Offaly today. They know it's going to be much, much tougher against the Leinster, the All-Ireland, the league champions, the team of all talents in Kilkenny. Oh, that's a great shot, and it's by Neville Coughlin. Denied the first time. He's got one in injury time. Great goal by the player who plays for the Shamrocks club. Oh, he belted this one in from about 21 metres out. Unstoppable. It just puts a better complexion on the whole thing. It'll show in the end that there are 6 between them if it stays like this. And once again, Tipperary have fallen asleep at the death of a game. They had it well and truly won in any case. It wasn't quite like Salt Hill 2 weeks ago. Colin Morrissey with a late score. Although it's wide, I should say. It's 2-16 to 2-10, just to clarify. Up towards Neville Coughlin once again. Looking for another. He's got a point. He's played well. Goal and a point, having come off the bench midway through the second half. That's not bad going at all, and it's 2-16 to 2-11. But don't kid yourself. Tipperary were much, much better than Offaly.
And Neville Coughlin there, he's also on the Offaly football panel, and interested to read during the week that Mike Mack has told him he'll have to make up his mind next year which Cody concentrates on. So that goal, brilliant goal there by him. Now maybe it led him towards the hurling next year, but they'll need lots more young players coming through like Neville.
Well, at least they're finishing brightly, and it gives them something to build towards for the campaign, which will start again in earnest during the winter. Long, long way away for Offaly, whereas Tipperary can look towards the month of August and the semi-finals of the championship. Eamon Corcoran back in the fold to Benny Dunn. His brother Tommy off with an injury. Pressure once again on the Offaly goal. Deep into additional time. Referee looks at his watch, blows the whistle, and the Guinness quarter-final involving Tipperary and Offaly is ended. Offaly finished with a couple of good scores, but there was no denying Tipperary, who were the superior force all through. And a couple of vital goals by O'Mara just before half-time, by John Carroll to set them up, started the second half, but they were dominant all over the field. They're through to the semi-final of the Guinness Championship to meet Kilkenny. Final score, Tipperary 2-16, Offaly 2-11. So let's find out what the manager thinks now, talking with Darragh Maloney.
Michael Doyle, what's your reaction to the victory?
Oh yeah, it's good. We came up, all we want to do today was win. Fair enough, in the end there we wouldn't have been happy enough. I think a few of the lads, maybe our fitness and that at the end there, we look at that during the week. But I suppose when you look at it in the second half, we won by 6 points. We get no more for winning by 10.
The goals I just had at half-time were key to the thing, weren't they?
Oh yeah, Brian's first goal, and I can't even remember who got the second one. But they're vital. Goals are vital in a game. And you saw there in the end, Offaly got 2 goals brought back into the thing, you know.
Just coming towards the end, you seem to kind of lose concentration a little bit. Easy thing to do, I suppose, when you were cruising for so long.
Yeah, well, I suppose tis, a lot of the pundits were talking about, you know, Tipperary, that we're losing leads and the whole lot, and we lost a bit of a lead there again today. But we're not concerned about that. At the end of the day, if we win, it doesn't matter. You know, they can up in the studio, they'll have probably a crack at us again that we lost the lead again and that. But no, we don't. That doesn't bother us once we keep winning. We know we're probably 3rd or 4th in the Becken at the moment. We'll have a look at it again now in the next 2 weeks and we'll get ready for the Cats.
Last year's semi-final against Kilkenny was a cracking game. The league final, an astonishing game. You get to do it again.
Yeah, but once we go and concede 5 goals.
Absolutely. Michael, thank you. Thank you very much.
Michael Doyle there, very, very pleased in the end just to get through. And by the way, Tipperary scored exactly the same in the first as in the second half. A goal and 8 points per half. They're through to play Kilkenny.
Ger Canning, Michael Duignan, thank you very much indeed. Well, the men in the studio that's going to have a crack at analysing that game are Ger Loughnane and Cyril Farrell. We might have a look at Tips again losing a long lead later, but first of all, I think, Cyril, you have to say they were far superior to Offaly in that game.
Again, Michael, they were way better than the 5 points, you know, victory as such. I'd say 10 or 12 would be a true reflection. They were on top. Half back line midfield were brilliant. All through. They are very good all year. And with Corcoran back, it's the vital ingredient again. Benny Dunn is playing beautiful midfield with Enright. And the whole half back line, Tommy Dunn was brilliant until he went off. And like, you know, what can you say about Paul Kelly? That 5 were great. Now, the tip forwards, even though they scored 216, there's still no real trust in them. They need kind of more cutting edge to them. But they'll be quite happy. They did lose the lead, but that won't worry them as such, like, and they'll be quite happy going in against Kilkenny. It promises to be a great game as such, like, you know, and like Offaly, you know, they're back to where they were last year. It's hard to know where they're going to go from here.
It is, yeah. I think, Ger, you would have been disappointed with the way this worked out from an Offaly point of view, because before the game we were talking about who might win, and you thought this was going to be a close game, but it just didn't work out that way.
I thought Offaly were way better than they turned out today, because I saw them for the full game against Wexford in the first round. They played really good hurling in the first half of that game. Now, they faded completely out of the game in the second half. I think they read too much into the Limerick game. Limerick were just pathetic, you know, the internal rivalries and all the troubles they had in Limerick. You couldn't judge anything on that game. So they came into today's game, I think, on false pretenses. Yeah. Now, Tipperary today were their sharpness. It's their sharpness, their skill level, the way they deliver the ball is fantastic. But for me, and this goes against myself because I was very critical of their defence. Yeah. Their defence today was absolutely outstanding. And the improvement that has come about in their full back line, Martin Maher is improving by the day. You know, he's still under 21. Paul Curran has settled in really well at full back. Tom Costa had a great game at cornerback. But while Tommy Dunn was at centre back today, he was gone, remember, when the last 2 goals were scored. While Tommy Dunn was at centre back, himself and Eamon Corcoran and Paul Kelly, they just controlled that game. Now they'll even get more encouragement from the performance of Eddie Enright at midfield and Benny Dunn. So, you know, they look as if they're coming into a very, very solid unit. And the best thing that happened to them today was to lose a bit of that lead at the end. If they won by 10 or 15 points today, they'd be going into the Kilkenny game, you know, maybe a bit casual. Whereas now everybody will criticise them, saying, oh, you lost the lead again, you lost it against Galway, you lost it again. That's the best thing that can happen to you. I think now they're really ready for a crack at Kilkenny. And it's going to be some semi-final. You'll have a sellout for Croke Park. The Tip crowd will be out in all force again. I think they'll believe in the team after today, and we're going to have 2 really great semi-finals after today's games.
Okay, gentlemen, we'll talk more to the panel a little bit later on. We'll also have more reaction from Croke Park. We have a commercial break to take. We're going Welcome back again to the programme. So we have seen these 2 All-Ireland quarter-finals. It's Wexford and it's Tipperary through to meet both Cork and Kilkenny in the semi-finals. Just go back to the first game for a moment, Cyril Farrell, to the Cork-Wexford semi-final, which is coming up in a fortnight's time. That'll be a good game as well.
Yeah, Wexford have improved all year, like from a kind of a slow start enough. They had a good win over Offaly, they went back a bit. They seem to have got more players on, and like the young forwards, the likes of young McGrath and the likes of young Jacobs, these guys are capable of scoring. They're low to the ground, hard enough to contain. Now Cork looked good in Munster, and I thought the first game they played very, very well. I saw Cork, Michael, in a challenge game early in the year, and I liked what I saw. In actual fact, 14 of the team that played in the championship played that morning. They never appeared since that, but for the championship they all appeared to happen to be all fit on the day. And they're playing very well. Ger and I were in Croke Park yesterday, and we looked out the window at one stage, and there was the famous Cork team training for us. It was an hour and a half, Ger. No problem getting the pitch for these boys, and they look good. Now, they're lovely hurlers, lovely ball players. But Wexford, before this, Cork were there, they're waiting, they're looking, they're planning. Now, they are playing their club championship. They haven't played a game for 6 weeks, whereas Wexford have 2 games, and today's game was a hard game. They'll improve from that. They'll need Dara Ryan back fit, and Adrian Finn. They need everyone as such. They're strong, you know, like these guys are strong and forceful. They'll have a right cut at Cork. Cork will be the favourites, but Wexford will have the match fitness, so it's going to be some game.
Oh, it is, of course. Let's come back to this game we've just seen a few minutes ago, Gerlach. Now we'll take a look at the stats from this game first of all and wrap up. One statistic there, Ger, of interest is the number of wides that Tipperary hit. Now, on the one hand, you can say they had so much possession that they hit a lot of wides, but on the other hand, I mean, they wouldn't want to be doing that against Kilkenny for a start.
No, but I think after John Carroll scored the goal, Michael, right after half-time, Tip seemed to be just playing out time. You know, they were prepared to contain them. They knew the defence was completely on top, and they were just getting the ball and belting it up to the full forward line without any real purpose. You know, the purpose had gone out of the game. Yeah. They knew they just had to hold them. They knew they were in control, and really from then on, it was just a matter of how much they would win by. So they would play differently if there's a real contest. They'd have playing way differently. And forget about 5 points. This was as big a beating as Tip gave to Offaly last year. And I suppose the discouraging thing from Offaly's point of view is they haven't improved an awful lot from last year. And when you think that Brian Wheel and Joe Erity probably won't be, mightn't be even playing next year, you know, the future doesn't look that bright for them. And the worst thing of all that happened to Offaly this year was they were beaten by Kilkenny, very badly beaten by Kilkenny in the Under-21 Leinster Championship. Now, all those young players like Brian Carroll, Rory Hannify and all those, they should be making an impression at Under-21. They didn't, and that was a bad sign for the rest of the year.
Sure, we'll hold you there for a second. We have the winning goalkeeper and the winning team, Brendan Cummins. He's standing by. Oh, apparently we've lost that interview. We'll come back to that a little bit later on. Cyril, the significance of John Carroll's goal at the second. OK, Offaly were behind at half-time. They weren't really looking sort of like getting on the pace of the game. But nonetheless, there was only a few points in it at that stage. John Carroll's goal, actually, it had the impact of he scored 4 goals at that stage. Yeah,
Tipper up about 6. And the thing is, like, Mark O'Leary got the ball and kind of cut through. And he was going to go for a point, but Carroll called. Now, he spun the ball beautiful across to Carroll. And when Carroll was going to hit on his right, now that's what Brian Mullins would expect, but he swiveled, turned around and stuck it on the left. Mullins never saw the ball at all, into the top corner of the net. Brilliant goal. Here it is here. Now it's a mistake. Brian Wheel has pushed off the ball. Now watch Mark O'Leary here. He could have tapped over there. He gives the Carroll. Now look at Carroll. Goes stummies and hits on the left. So therefore, like, Brian Mullins gets no chance at all. Here again, now it's in slow motion. Watch the swivels here. Bang.
Blocked as well,
Fantastic score. Now Mullins is a great goal. He didn't even see it, and that effectively killed the game. But what I liked about it was that O'Leary could have tapped it over for a point, but they went for the killer. You need that. That killed the game.
It's very like actually one of the goals that he got against Kilkenny in the league final. You know, coming through like that, he's such a powerful shot, and he was just blocked. After that, he was just hooked at the last minute, and he could have got a second one. Now, he wasn't in the game hugely today, but whatever he did, you know, the thing about Carroll is whatever he does, he does it really effectively, and he has an uplifting effect on the whole team around him. But having said that, the Tip full forward line will have to improve to make an impression against Kilkenny. Owen Kelly is not the Owen Kelly of last year or the year before. His confidence isn't the same. He's standing up to strike the ball. He's not striking on the run like he used to do before. But he has 3 weeks to straighten it out.
Do you think is he hurled out a little bit, Ger, do you think? He's playing a lot of hurling at all sort of levels.
And you see, he's still under 21.
That's the point.
And that's the killing thing. Like, he has an awful lot of hurling done in the last 3 years.
Yeah, and Jerry, you'll find that next Wednesday night, I think it's Wednesday or Thursday, they're going to be playing Cork.
In the Munster final.
Cork are slight favourites. That'll be a fantastic game. But he'll be, if Tipper to win, Owen Kelly's going to have a good game. And like, they'll be tight on him, and that's the price you pay for being very good.
Sure. We'll have a look at the 2 Offaly goals towards the end of the game. They didn't really make any impression, I suppose, on what the outcome of the game is going to be, but nonetheless, one of them, Neville Coughlin's one, was a cracker of a goal. Also, Gary Hannify's, I suppose, a little bit of a fluke. This is the only way Brendan Cummins is going to be beaten today, I think.
Yeah, well, there's a hand pass in here, and again, like, there's a shot going to come across. Again, Hannify gets back, and it takes the deflection. You're kind of a looping shot, more like a soccer goal, but it winds up in the back of the net. And as Michael Dial said, like, they'll be giving out to defenders for letting in these 2 goals. Now, it took a deflection. Cummins could do nothing about it. Tonight was, now this is a good ball. He actually plays the ball here to Coughlin. Soft free, beautiful, and again, volley, turned, smashed into the back net. That should not happen. The point is, like, that Neville Coughlin was not picked up when the free was being taken. All the Tipperary backs funneled back into the square expecting the ball to be lobbed in. If they played 1-1, that goal wouldn't have come.
And their concentration was so good all day. You know, tip backs were so, they didn't give an inch to an Offaly forward all day. And then when the game petered out, they're inclined to lose concentration. We won't go to town because Michael Dial might be complaining.
He left the tape on.
Exactly, he might be complaining. But, you know, it's something you need to watch. They'll need to watch this because Kilkenny are really sharp at things like that. But I'm really looking forward to that clash. It's going to be some clash.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. That clash coming up in a couple of weeks' time. Now, we had an early